All right, let's go out to a beautiful left coast and get our buddy Jim McGill, who's joined us again. Jim, good seeing you again. Man, so far so good for Cal. Welcome to the ACC, going into the SEC country. That was a really, really impressive performance, especially after that opening drive. You're thinking, uh-oh, could be a long day. But, man, never flinched and really kind of, quite frankly, controlled the football game last weekend.
Yeah, that was a special one for Cal fans and the Cal program. The Auburn game had been circled on everybody's schedule calendar for a couple of years before it got announced, or after it got announced. And you know, you're right that Cal was kind of on their heels right away, and I think a lot of people were thinking, "Oh man, here we go." But they really cracked down after that and played some good ball. And there's a lot of factors I think that are involved in Cal being able to pull off that kind of an upset. The biggest one I think is they've built a lot of depth that they've never really had in their program before. There's been a lot of stars that have come through there. Guys like Aaron Rodgers, Marshawn Lynch, Keenan Allen, Tony G, so many guys that have been great guys that are bound for the Hall of Fame, but they've always lacked depth, and they have it now. And it's a good thing too because they've had six starters out, and ordinarily that would have crippled them, especially going on the road in a hostile venue like Auburn.
I want to ask you about one of the guys that they brought in through the portal because they have built some depth through the portal, among other ways. But Teddy Buchanan to me seems to be sort of the linchpin on that defense, and he's had a really good start to the season. Coming up from Cal Davis, like what does he bring, and how has he changed how they are able to play defensively?
Buchanan just brings a level of intensity and professionalism to the field that are a real big boost to the defense. I think there's very little separating him and freshman All American Kedu Olave being bookend middle linebackers. Those guys just really complement each other very well. Buchanan's a very physical player, and he's intelligent. He makes the right reads. He's in the right place almost all the time, and when he hits you, you know it. So he was a huge addition to the program for sure.
Yeah, we had Teddy on the show this week, and he was a joy to talk to. The one thing we thought before the season was, and we still do, is that Jade Knott is one of the best running backs in the country, but he's been kind of banged up and nicked up. What's the latest on his situation moving forward?
I don't have the sense that he's particularly healthy right now. I think it's something that's going to have to be managed. I mean, if you would have said Jade Knott is going to go into the game and have 10 carries for 11 yards against Auburn, but Cal's still going to win, I think people would have scratched their head a little bit at that. But they have a lot of depth in the running back room. They go five deep there. Maybe not everybody as elite as Jade Knott, but maybe just a little step below. So I think they'll take it easy on him this week. And I assume he'll play, but I wouldn't expect a heavy workload either.
One of the keys that Cal's 2-0 start is that they've got a quarterback in Fernando Mendoza, who last year was a turnover machine, 15 in 9 games, has not turned the ball over yet this year. I know Cal is probably very pleased with the lack of mistakes. I think they probably want to see a little more explosiveness too. How do you think that balance sort of shakes out as the year progresses?
There's a lot of factors involved with Mendoza being better taking care of the ball. He's about 20 pounds heavier and stronger this year, so he can withstand contact a lot more. And he came into the season as a returning starter, and that makes a big difference. The guy was thrown into the starting role midseason last year in a hostile situation, and I think he was a little bit overwhelmed and over his head. I think Cal would really like to open up their game more this week against San Diego State. Coach Mike Blesh, the offensive coordinator, has stated that he really wants to take a lot of shots downfield this season, and they haven't been able to do that too much this year. Part of it's because they have two starting offensive linemen out, and the time to throw is a little bit limited. And they have the two top starting receivers out too, both games, and today as or this week as well. Those things are limiting Cal's ability to stretch the field, but they do have some speedy guys like Isaiah Hunter, who already has 3 touchdowns. He came into camp as third string, but he's really shown the talent he has. And there's some other speedy guys out there, Mikey Matthews and Jonathan Brady, that can stretch the field if they give the Mendoza some time to throw.
Jim, how bizarre is it if I would have known you or asked you 2 years ago to say, guess what? Cal's going to be in the ACC and you're going to play San Diego State. Oh, yeah, they're getting ready to join whatever the Pac 2, Pac 6, whatever that's going to be. What a bizarre time it is, right, to be alive, given the whole transition and transformation of college sports.
Yeah, it's quite strange. I mean, it was only last year that the talk was that San Diego State would come into the conference and take one of the departing two teams, USC or UCLA's place, and maybe another team like SMU, and then all of a sudden everything fell apart. And I think that Cal found a good landing place in the ACC. I mean, look to the show for an example. Cal didn't have any kind of opportunity to be previewed on a 3-hour show that comes on Monday through Friday on the Pac-12 network. The personnel there did a great job, but ACC gives us a lot more exposure, and I think it's an interesting challenge. Just seeing a lot of different opponents playing in a lot of different venues, I think it's added a jolt of excitement to the program.
So, all right, because I already know the answer to this. You know the answer to this, and I think you've already alluded to the answer to this, but I keep seeing it on Twitter anyway. So go ahead and put a stop to, Cal and Stanford are just going to go back to the Pac-12 right now. Please tell us that this is definitely not happening.
If that happens, it would kind of be the death knell for Cal athletics, because the football team essentially supports the dominant majority of 30 different intercollegiate programs. So it's stay relevant, stay in the Power Four or whatever it morphs into, or die. So no, I don't. That's going to be a desperation move if that happens.
Thank you.
You mentioned about the jolt for the ACC and all that stuff. The win against Auburn, what did that do for the fan base this week? Because I would assume people are like, wow, man, they really look good. I mean, again, that was no fluke. If you watch the game, they were simply better than Auburn. So, give me the vibe of the locals after that big W.
There's a lot of excitement. I know that people realize that Auburn wasn't a top 25 program, and their dominant win the first week was against a small program, Alabama A&M. But still, this is the kind of game that a lot of people expected Cal to lose, especially with so many starters out injured and going on the road. It's got a lot of people really excited. I think everybody's kind of even-handed about the level of success and not getting ahead of their skis too much, knowing that there's still a lot of injuries to fight through. The turnover edge has been particularly strong the first two games. You can't always count on that. You can't always count on turning over the ball so little yourself, too. So there's a lot of things that can factor into what comes up on the rest of the schedule. But to have Auburn out of the way and to have FSU and North Carolina State maybe show some vulnerability, I think it's created a lot of hope for what could happen this season.
Well, they got that trip to FSU coming up next week, and Auburn last week, the first of, I think, is it 4 or 5 East Coast trips for them over the course of this season. How do you expect travel to sort of build up, or do you think it's an issue or will be an issue as the year progresses?
I think they've managed the travel issue really well. They have a chartered flight. They have like 25 sleeper seats. They fly nonstop. They go in 2 days early and they leave right after the game. They have a lot of food and beverages on the flight. It's not significantly different than some of the travel trips they've had in the Pac-12 in the past, even though you would think it really would be. I think that the time zone is probably the biggest difference, but they haven't really seemed to have been impacted by it by a significant margin. And I can tell you for myself, I haven't been impacted by going out to Auburn and coming back either. So I don't think
wait till you got to fly into Tallahassee. Tallahassee will change your opinion about all of this.
Well, it could. It's Panama City for me, and then a 2-hour drive. It's not the easiest trip, but I'm still looking forward to it nonetheless.
Yeah, it'd be a good time. Well, listen, congrats to everybody out there on the quick start, and we always appreciate your insight. And again, I hope Jay Knott can get healthy and the rest of the ACC world can watch, because he is a dynamic, big-time Sunday back, and they are a different football team when he's 100%. Hopefully he can get up and ready to rock and roll.
Cal fans are with you on that one.